All right, good to see everybody. Big week for our team. Obviously, where we're at in training camp and with the roster evals and roster cut down around the corner. We still are in a world where we're building up, limiting installs and allowing for competitive situations. But this week's going to be critical for a lot of guys, and also a critical week. First time we'll get a chance to go on the road this preseason, so always a good operation to go through that as a team and what it's like at the hotel and meetings and walkthroughs and things like that. So looking forward to seeing our team dialed in and coming off of what was a really positive week last week for the growth of what we're trying to become. But also had a chance to potentially win a football game, and we came up short, and we get another opportunity on Friday for a lot of these guys to go compete again and try to get that done. But excited about this week and where our team is at right now. It will be a big day for a lot of the guys that didn't play. Not a long practice, but we want to make sure we get some good work today and get those guys' feet underneath them coming off of the break since last Thursday.
What will the week look like for Justin Jefferson after the evaluation practice-wise?
Yeah, so you'll see him. He will begin to take part in practice. It'll be kind of a ramp up. You'll see him, take parts and bits and pieces of it here, but he will officially, be back to work and be ramping up from here. So glad you asked.
Did you enjoy that Saturday commentary, that TV stuff, Kevin?
Most of it. There was probably a couple parts I'd like to have back, but no. I've got to do something when I'm not calling plays. Otherwise, I'm sure Wes Phillips wished I would have done it for the whole second half, so I would shut up on the headsets. But no, I think one of the greatest things about not only the technology in this day and age, but the ability to bring new things to our fans, and I viewed it as a chance to just open up, some of my thinking and some of the parts of the game that maybe, don't always get talked about, but may provide some insight and may hook some people out there to becoming more fans of the game or fans of the Minnesota Vikings or our players. So I viewed it as an incredible positive, and I had a blast. I had so much, admiration for PA and Ben and Pete and everything that they do, as part of that partnership, bringing the Minnesota Vikings to our fans. So, I did enjoy it.
Would you like to do it again?
I would. I probably, there may have been some asks from some of the people that will cover some of our regular season games to maybe take a look at doing it, and that was a little bit of a hard pass for now. But maybe I'll get so comfortable in this job one day that I'll be mic'd up, for a regular season game. I don't think that's going to happen because I definitely would need to have that wonderful person in charge of the button there to be ready to go maybe a little bit more swiftly.
Has Josh Metellus been reevaluated yet, and where's he?
He's kind of in the same boat as Justin today. We avoided anything long term with him, and he's so much so that he'll work back in today. He'll have working through some soreness, but he's going to be in a good spot.
With Justin, and hamstrings just going to be a tricky thing. Is that something you guys have to keep more of an eye on? I know you've stressed him out in the past a lot, but does that change practice routines at all for him now that he's had a couple of them?
I don't think it'll change his routine once he's kind of through this period of time where, we let him get his, football legs back underneath him. He's done such a good job with building his strength and doing the work with the medical team and the strength team that I think he probably feels like he's pretty darn close and ready to go. But we've got this time leading into, I think, 3 weeks from today. We've got a little bit of time now to kind of work him back in, continue to build his reps up here as we go, and it coincides with the schedule with how we handle this week, being a pretty heavy week for that first group of guys that we can slowly integrate them back in. You'll see them doing some work with the group, and then you'll see them doing some work while practice is going on, maybe catching more balls and throwing some more routes and just getting a certain amount of workload in for today, and then we'll worry about tomorrow, and it's really a day at a time as we ramp them up.
Jaylen Naylor still in the testing phase?
Yeah, he's we're more than likely going to hold him, out for now. He's kind of figuring out what the best plan of action for return to play will be, but do feel good about where we're at with that. And I think as we roll here, it's going to continue to give some us answers on the rest of that room, and we got some more information in the game. We had some more information in the joint practices, even when Jaylen was out there. So we'll just continue to kind of build that together. But no, I think hopefully I would consider it week to week at this point, knowing we've got 3 weeks out from that opener that we can ramp him back up. But the good thing is he'll be able to stay in great shape and keep his conditioning and game shape that he worked so hard to get into. He'll be able to maintain that.
Does that mean he's trying to decide whether to have surgery on it?
That doesn't necessarily mean anything, Kevin. It means he's, working through it from a standpoint. And here's what I'll say, just so we can avoid the next and the next and the next. We're probably close enough out now where I'll be as transparent as I always can be. But at the same time, there'll be an official injury report when it's required, and that's when we can dive into the details of what that glorious sheet has to say.
How do you feel about the depth across the board in the receiver room outside of Justin Gordon and Jaylen?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of guys that wouldn't be here if we didn't, see the talent, the skill sets, the ability. It's how you maximize your opportunities that some of these guys have, and some of these guys have taken advantage of, and other guys are going to continue to get opportunities. But I think they've got great examples. When we're installing plays and we're talking about detail of routes and how things are done, whether it's 18 or 3 or even number 1, TJ at the tight end spot, we've got great examples in our pass game of what you should be striving for it to look like. And then it's about making the plays when they come to you. So I do feel good about the depth. I feel like we're getting a great chance to see guys in some roles and positions that maybe they don't always, get to, when you have that first group in there every single time, and we feel so strongly about that group, you don't always get those reps. So I think it's been a real positive. It's been a positive to see our quarterbacks play with different guys every single day, even sometimes a different guy in the walkthrough than maybe they got for the game rep or practice rep that afternoon. So I do think it's a net positive, and we'll continue to look forward to what combination of those guys makes us the best possible offense we can be.
Thought of Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins?
Say that one more time.
What have you thought of Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he's been everything we'd kind of hoped he would be from a standpoint of we really identified him throughout the process, Alec, as somebody that could be really versatile along that front, doing as many as 3 or 4 different roles, whether you're talking, being an inside, early down player, a 5 technique, maybe even some edge snaps as a bigger body edge against some teams that like to attack the, certain parts of the formation in the run game. What I've loved seeing, though, is some of just the football makes sense to him plays. He had a really good rush on a 3rd down in the red zone the other day. We didn't necessarily on that one get off the field, but it was one where the quarterback felt him. It allowed for, if we were a little bit tighter with our rushing coverage tied together, maybe we're getting off the field. And then other times you've seen him out here in some big moments of competition phase of practice, get a hand up and swat a ball and tip a ball and change a drill. So he's got some unique kind of traits to go along with the physical traits that we were so drawn to in the eval process. But he's been part of the reason why you feel so great about that D-line depth, because it's not just Grave and JA and HP, and then it's Levi and Red and him and Eli's making a bunch of plays. Taki made a bunch of plays. John Harris is doing everything right. T. Bell shows up with effort and plays exactly how he's coached to play. So, I think Marcus has done a phenomenal job with that group. Not always, it's not always easy with it. Everybody wants to have depth, but then when you have it, you've got to find a way to develop all those guys and get reps where it's required. And I think Marcus, and Flo and his staff have done a really good job of that.
What stood out to you about the way Josh McCown's coached J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, I think it's like looking over your shoulder right now. I mean, he's right there with him every single rep. He provides such a presence of a guy that did it as a player for so many years. He's well into his coaching journey now, but he's got an unbelievable way of communicating, but also being a demanding coach and what we're looking to accomplish and what we need to see, and then how to coach them the right way after the fact, where it's constantly challenging, but it's also in a world where I think JJ's confidence is sky high, because if he's got a guy like Josh in the room with him, on the grass with him, and I feel like Josh is the perfect coach to be an extension of me in so many ways, and allow me to play my role with that position as the play caller and as the head coach. That between Wes, Josh, and Jordan, it's been set up a certain way that it functions at a really high level. But Josh has done a great job.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.